Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And we've got a big one in game week 37, except we don't really know who's going to play for the home team. And that home team is Manchester City. Firstly, let me introduce you to Jonny Pringle. How are you, Johnny?
Good, thanks, James. Thanks for having me on again.
You're very welcome, mate. And our Bournemouth correspondent, Neil Grover's in. How are you, Neil?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Good stuff. Johnny, following the draw at Southampton, which was expected to for absolutely everybody, including Southampton fans, is there any danger here? Or do you feel comfortable for top five?
No, I think it has just thrown it a little bit wide open again. It was such an avoidable result at the weekend. It's as slam dunk a fixture as you could have got, and we've managed to mess it up. And yeah, it has just made it awkward. I think if we had won on Saturday, I think it probably would be done and dusted. But I now think we need at least one win from the two, and we sort of need that to come against Bournemouth because you don't want Fulham away on the last day, even though they're looking at it on the beach, could be a tricky fixture, and all of a sudden you could end up in a bit of a pickle. We're lucky that Forest and Chelsea play each other, but I think Villa will win both their games, and Chelsea have got an easy fixture on Friday.
But
So
if, yeah, and Villa have got an easy fixture on Friday as well. If Villa and Chelsea win, obviously, both their games, which are very capable of doing, puts both on 69.
yeah,
Newcastle got Everton final day after going to Arsenal. You assume that would get them to 69.
yeah,
Arsenal don't need a point to get to that total. For you to get to that total, you need 4 points.
yeah. So I
Should
think I think we'll
should be
finish above.
enough.
I think we'll finish above at least one team, like I say, because I think Forest and Chelsea will obviously one of them has to drop points, but we need to finish above two. Um,
Feels like you need that though. I mean, like if you lost to Bournemouth, it's panic, isn't it? Really?
yeah, that's what I mean. As in, I think we'd be a lot more comfortable, and I think Villa winning and Chelsea just getting a few of them wins when they've just managed to turn the form around recently, just put the pressure back on a little bit.
Obviously, if Chelsea Villa win on Friday night, you've got the whole weekend sitting in sixth.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
noticed that, and I think that is likely.
we would all expect that at this stage, so then it's real pressure on. Your goal difference is better than the other two, so
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say, yeah, 4 points will get you in. There's no way Villa can catch your goal difference. Chelsea could maybe. 4 points certainly looks like it will be enough. You should do it, shouldn't you?
Yeah, we should. I think it's a shame we're coming into this podcast on the back of that result because I think if it had been before that, I think we'd be talking about how Pep's managed to find a little bit of stability with the system. We're looking a little bit more like our older selves again, and I'd be quite confident. But I think that's just put the jitters up the fans again a little bit, and unfortunately, like I said, it's thrown everything back up in the air again.
But it brings a nervousness as well because of who you drew with. You didn't just draw a game, you drew against a team like you say, it's a gimme. Obviously, you should be winning. So
Yeah,
then every game is slippable from here. Then if you're not winning that one, right?
yeah, yeah,
Neil, for yourselves, win at the Emirates, get you right back in contention. I told you be careful about Brentford.
Yep.
They and Brighton now 2 points ahead of you. Will two wins even be enough?
It probably would just 'cause, well, the goal difference is pretty
It's
big
in your
for
favour,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. So like Brentford Fulham, that I mean that could go really could go either way. Albeit it's at Brentford, unfortunately, from our point of view. And Wolves are not a gimme that they perhaps were at other points in the season for Brentford. So I do think we need to win both to have any chance. I think is the realistic point now.
So you feel like you ordinarily you go to City and you think, oh, a draw would be like amazing, right? But you're going into the game thinking you've got to win. Also, obviously, the other two go before you.
Hmm.
Does that change a little bit if they slip up beforehand?
Well, if they slip up, then a point becomes very valuable because you would go into the last day. What if we would be on 54? They would be on if they lost or drew, so they'd be on 56 or 55. So, yeah, I mean, you'd still want to win it, but if you could, but a point would be acceptable if both of them slipped up, right?
Are you
which
capable?
again seems ridiculous to say.
Do you feel? I mean, obviously, this is kind of really highlight. This is an important game for
Mm,
City as well. Now, do you feel capable of going there and winning?
I think we've shown this year we can go to any ground in the country and win this year. So I feel like it's doable. Whether or not it happens, obviously I don't know. I mean, obviously there is a game that is going to take away some focus from City as well. Even if it's not from a resting point of view, we've got all of this time to prepare and come up with interesting set pieces as we've been wont to do, and all of that sort of element. There's also, I'm sure we'll talk about it as well, the fact that it's KDB's last home game, which it just takes. It's just they're just layers of things that start going on top of each other, right? And if we're going to cause an upset, why not?
Can I give you some numbers, Neil? And I've got some good ones for you, but I'm going to start with some
Yep,
bad ones first and foremost, mate. Um, your results at the Etihad, and I'm going to go in reverse order here.
yep.
6-1, 4-0, 2-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-0, 4-0, 5-1.
Hmm.
Those are your results at the Etihad in Premier League matches.
Yeah. I mean, obviously prior to this year, we didn't even get a point. We haven't had a point against City, right? So it's certainly I've done that track and come back on after the 5-1 in particular. Sticks in my memory because I believe it was Glenn Murray that scored in that last game you mentioned. But by the by, yeah, I mean, obviously, look, we haven't got a good record there, but this year we didn't have a good record at Arsenal, right? And we went and we got our first win there. Um, we have historically struggled against the big six, with the odd exception, Chelsea generally. We've seemed to have done well apart from this year. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is there. But this year it just feels different with that. And as I said earlier, I don't think there is a team in the Premier League that at any given day we couldn't beat, if we turn up and everything else goes well.
How disappointing was the Villa defeat?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's bizarre because it feels like I saw the away table this year, and I think we would be fourth in the Premier League. And it's just bizarre that recently our home form in particular has really dropped away, which is disappointing because there was a period sort of around Christmas where we were really troubling teams at home, like City as well, right? So yeah, it's disappointing. I do think we've really suffered from some fatigue recently. I think, being honest, there's been a few players that are perhaps thinking about the summer already, and what shirts they might be wearing next season, which is disappointing but natural given the success we've had this season.
You're right about that away record. It is fourth best in the league. Only Liverpool, Arsenal, and Forest better than you. 28 points on the road. You've only lost four away games all
Hmm.
season.
There you go.
So they've only lost four on the road, Johnny, but you always beat them. So do you look at it? We always beat Bournemouth. Does that, we have a discussion about City Tottenham all the time. Does Bournemouth feel like one? Like we always win
Not at all. If the question was Burnley, yes, we always beat Burnley.
that?
Um, but no, not Bournemouth. I know we've got a good record there, but I just always think that Bournemouth are a decent team, the way that they set up. Um, I think the performance there early in the season, yes, shows that it's going to be a difficult game. There's taking nothing for granted this time.
Game's obviously not till Tuesday, Neil. If Palace win the cup, and we'll get there, Johnny. I mean, here's the irony, Neil. You need Johnny's team to win first and foremost on Saturday before playing you. If Palace win, season's over.
Yep.
Could that lead into a scenario where Iriola goes, potentially I'm going to play a few younger players here and stuff like that?
I don't think so. In part because, frankly, I don't think there's that many. There's one or two that maybe he would look at, but we don't have the depth of squad beyond. I mean, we kind of saw it in sort of January where we kind of had the 11 that was on the pitch. There was a few players that were there or thereabouts, and it is something that the club is clearly addressing, as we saw in January. But I just don't think there would be. It wouldn't be fair to any of the players you would do that to go, here you go, go and play against City. Like you just, you're not going to do that to anyone. The only thing you might see might be Araho instead of Smith or something like that might come through anyway.
Okay. Johnny, how you feeling about the cup final?
I think it's a coin flip, to be honest.
Really?
Um, yeah, genuinely, I think it could so easily go one of two ways. Like I say, I think Pep has found a bit of stability. I think he found a system that stopped us conceding basically every attack that we conceded. And yeah, it boded well for us in the semi-final. I didn't think that it was a straightforward game against Forest, but what was it? We managed to get through. Palace are a good team, and again, they sort of got the type of players that can hurt us on the counter attacking and transitions. They showed that in the game at the Etihad when they raced into a 2-0 lead. Um,
I'm very nearly 3-0.
they were really good in that first half hour, and I thought, wow, we're getting decimated, and then all of a sudden it just flipped on its head. So yeah, again, taking nothing for granted, I wouldn't be surprised if Palace won it.
It feels closer than Man City v Palace. Most people, you're obviously going to be big favourites for the bookies and stuff. But I do agree. I do see scenarios where you might get turned over Saturday. It's
Yeah,
natural to think that you would win, but I agree with you. They have shown little glimpses that they might be the sort of team that could hurt you, definitely. How do you think that plays out then to choosing? Because obviously, if you win, we joke, don't we? Teams win trophies are going to piss for a week. Your team obviously can't because
no.
of the game on Tuesday and also the Fulham game the following Sunday. Has it just become business, right? Put your medals away and then get ready for Tuesday, or could there be any hangover? And I guess also the other way, what if you lose?
I think we need to lock in either way. Like it's almost just business until the end of the season, and then yeah, that's when you can potentially celebrate.
Would you see any priority? Because I can't see one. I've heard people say, "Oh, it'd be bigger for them to see you've got to finish top five
Yeah.
financially, or they've got to win the trophy because it's largely been a disappointing season compared to what you're used to."
Just both. I think they're just of equal importance. I think the people who are saying that Pep will prioritise the Champions League with Bournemouth are just naive. The club wants a trophy. I think I've said in this podcast in the past. I think signs of truly good teams in great eras still win silverware in their bad seasons. That'd be huge for us. But yeah, if we win the cup, then there's still no excuse for not getting Champions League, especially if there's five teams there, and it completely jeopardizes transfer plans and just puts the next 2 years. The reason why Pep renewed, it would just waste it.
So strongest team Saturday, no doubt for you. Then
Yeah.
what is that?
I don't know. I don't know what our strongest team is. I don't know what our strongest team is, and probably haven't since what's it, maybe last season. Like I said, I quite liked this system that he'd found with Nunes and O'Reilly as fullbacks. Gvardiol and Diaz formed a good partnership. He finally managed to get Kovacic into some form by playing Bernardo next to him. Little box midfield, so two up front and then two wingers. I don't think whoever plays in them positions particularly matters. Um, but then he threw it all out the window at the weekend for to bring Haaland back in.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't work, does it, with Haaland?
Well, no, because again, you sort of need that box midfield, and
Yeah.
Haaland sort of stands up front then. Um, so I wasn't surprised that Haaland came back in at the weekend. Um, I don't know whether he'll play at the week. I think he will play at the weekend because I think Pep always plays him when he's
Yeah.
available. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a scenario where we're looking back in hindsight thinking, should we have just played that system that served us so well recently and just had him on the bench?
It's so weird, and we've had this conversation so many times, both with you and also on our own podcast, that Haaland on his day is unstoppable. We all know it.
Yeah.
But it is so interesting to think you'd found a system that works without him,
Mm.
and now that he's back, you have to accommodate again. You cannot just keep. You're not going to ask Haaland to play as like a right-sided 10, right?
Yeah,
It's
don't
no
get me
way.
wrong. Like, obviously, the system, like a fully firing City in that 4-3-3 system with Haaland up front is better than what we had without Haaland this season.
Agreed.
So I think there's no doubt that like City's best team has Haaland in it. But I think, like I say, while there's so much fragility there, there is an argument just to take Haaland out, just to, like you say, add a bit more stability and try and grind out results rather than trying to blow teams away.
Haaland has not come back in against Southampton to not play the FA Cup final. He's going to play. I think that's a fair certainty.
Yeah.
Also, considering Oliver Glasner's comments after the 5-2 at the Etihad, and Glasner went, if you play like that again, and obviously Haaland being back means, well, that's default. That's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah.
What's the impact here for KDB?
Still think he will play. He hasn't played well though. I think it'll either be probably him or Foden that sort of play off the right or just behind him. I don't know. I don't know whether one of them will get a game each at the cup final on Tuesday. I'm unsure.
Because the fantasy owners, those who've gambled on Haaland, have made their bed. I think. I don't really think there's much moving for it. And unless Haaland got injured on Saturday, Haaland is going to start Palace and he's going to start Bournemouth because we know now if once Pep says he's fit, he's playing.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. So Haaland will play. So the KDB owners are in more of a panic, right? It's understandable. A few have taken a punt. You're almost sitting there hoping he doesn't play against Palace, thinking that it's going to buy into the narrative of the Etihad and the last game being there next Tuesday. But Kevin De Bruyne was playing an FA Cup final as well, surely, right? That's the better way to leave, is lifting the trophy, not the wave at the Etihad, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but obviously the deadline's before the cup final, so you're not going to know. Um, I wonder whether he just, I wonder whether he just managed minutes, like a start in one game and then just half an hour off the bench in another.
Because, of course, with the deadline being Friday, it's unlikely we're going to know your team on the Friday afternoon to know what that potentially means for Tuesday. Because I think if a few knew that he was, if Pep says in his presser Friday, Kevin's definitely going to start tomorrow, the owners are going to think shit about Tuesday.
Hmm.
And I think the other thing that threw people was the fact that it's like, oh, we're saving De Bruyne for these big games towards the end of the season, but he didn't start the semi-final against Forest.
No,
Didn't even get on.
no. And again, I don't know what the thinking was from Pep there. He obviously brought Rico Lewis into midfield that day, maybe a little better in tight spaces. You just don't know. I think something that the sort of the FPL community hasn't really talked about is that De Bruyne isn't really playing well. Um, I think there's been a very obviously romantic sort of story with everyone bringing him back in. I mean, it's easy for me to say because I haven't. He obviously scored that goal against Wolves. I think there's question marks over how good an FPL asset De Bruyne has been over the last few years. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just dropped for performance reasons as well.
Well, the one great performance was against Saturday's opponents, Crystal Palace.
Yeah, when he scored that free kick and got I think he got an assist later in the game. Yeah, when he really turned it around for us. But I don't know if there's necessarily sort of like a matchup thing there. I think it was just he banged in a free kick and then
His confidence was up and he was on one.
yeah,
And
yeah. I don't know whether there is something saying that he's got against Palace sort of like last season as well.
I
But
remember scoring a bang at Selhurst Park last year
I was
as
there.
well. Yeah. I'd be surprised if the thing I'm split on this. I'd be surprised if De Bruyne doesn't start the final. But I know that you're easier to beat if De Bruyne and Haaland both play, which is ridiculous because you're most likely to hurt someone else when those two play, right? Because KDB into Haaland is unstoppable. But to play against you, the way you defend from the front is not right when they both play, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say to a KDB owner?
Have a good first sub.
Yeah, but he's definitely going to get on a pitch against Bournemouth unless he gets injured at the weekend, right?
I don't
There's
know.
no way. There's no way for that one. Surely he would not leave him sitting on the bench. surely.
Yeah, you're right.
Because the club themselves have even promoted it quite a lot, haven't they?
Ooh, I
About
don't
it being
know,
Kevin De
right.
Bruyne's last home game. And I don't think that definitely means he starts, but it definitely means he's involved, I think.
I'm trying to think. I know this is like this isn't the same scenario, but Yaya Toure's last home game. I can't remember whether we brought him on or not. Do you know what I mean? Like you can just see Pep being the type of guy who's just like, no, not bringing him on. Like we'll just wheel him out at the end.
But the relationship was when Pep came in, he kind of took Torre out of the team quite quickly. Then he put him back in a bit, and then he was out again.
Yeah,
De
I know,
Bruyne's obviously been
and I'd say
magnificent for him for.
it's a very loose example. I'm trying to think of well, I suppose you could another example is Aguero. He came on and scored two off the bench against Everton, didn't he?
Correct, but Aguero also wasn't fully fit. He was struggling to even be in the squad for that game. So I do
Yeah.
feel that's a little bit different.
I think I think because of the lack of captain options this week, I wouldn't be against say a move to like Palmer to captain him. I think that'd be a decent move, and then that lines you up for Saka in 38.
So you didn't go down that route, KDB. Neil, did you?
I did just because I can just see it going, but I ended up free hitting this week anyway. So because
Oh, this
I'm
week that you're in now for
yeah
37.
yeah because I'm teed up really nicely for 38. So I was like, I've got it. So just do it now, and otherwise it's wasted, right?
Okay, that's interesting. While you're on it, because you won't be the only one free hitting this week, are you going to put any City in?
Yes, I've got KDB just because I just got one of those feelings because it's just against us and the natural. I've got Gvardiol at the moment as well, but that was just a first draft. I'm still playing around with it.
Would you throw Haaland in if he was on free hit, Johnny? We're kind of in agreement that he's playing, right?
Yeah, he'll play. Trying to think off the top of my head what the alternative fixtures are for strikers this week.
It's only really Watkins that's good. Visser's obviously in decent form. We've got a decent home game. People even talking about throwing Vardy in on a free hit, mate.
Yeah.
You've just named my front three there.
Well, but I'm not surprised because the forward options this week aren't great. I don't think
Mm-mm-mm.
Watkins is a shoe in. Probably Visser. It's like if you're going to go heavy with sort of Palmer, Salah, Saka, that kind of gig. If you're going KDB, there's not room for Haaland. It must be a real temptation, Nildo, to throw Haaland in.
It is, but I think as we've said, he plays on Saturday. His record against us as well isn't that great. Which I mean, read into that what you want, but he's struggled historically against us for one reason or another. So, um,
That's not getting clipped up next Wednesday.
oh, it's
Bournemouth,
100% when he gets a hat trick. You know what my record is with these sort of things, but I'm talking historically. So,
Okay, I take it you're not going to put any Bournemouth in on that free hit, or are you?
I've got a Howson for now, but he's going to be on my bench. So it's just
Okay. When you say you're set up well for Game Week 38, does that mean you are still carrying Bournemouth assets as well then?
Mhm.
Go on, what you got?
uh, let me bring it up. So, I will have Kirkez and Evan Nilsson for sure.
All right. So this is why you got Arsenal as well, have you? And bits of Newcastle.
Yep.
Yep. Yep, makes complete sense because I think they're the three teams people are going to probably look steam into in 38. As it looks now, I think City need to go and win at Fulham, for example. City assets will really appeal for that sort of crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes complete sense. If you were free hitting in 38, Neil, is that the free Bournemouth you think you'd go for? Or
I
which free,
def
I should say, sorry.
yeah, I definitely take Evan Nilsson. Again, there's part of me being non-emotional about it. It would be Evan Nilsson. I think Cliver now is more likely to play than he has been. I know he's been rotated a little bit, but with Alex Scott now out for the season, I think we have to play him. And I think he's the man to go to there. And then it's dealer's choice of Howson or Kirkesh, um, whichever tickles the individual player's fancy.
I guess, any danger in the idea that if there was nothing to play for that last game, that Howson might not play? Bearing in mind, I mean, certainly at the time of recording, it's huge Real Madrid links today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, obviously, touching wood for him, it. I don't think there's anything that would that could happen on the last day that would poleaxe that
Okay.
transfer. As far as I'm concerned, he's a Madrid player in
Oh, you think
on
it's
June
done?
1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if the player clearly wants the deal, I think he's a Spanish player. And if Madrid want a player, they get the player, right? Like that, there isn't really that many clubs, one or two, right? If Madrid come after you, as we're seeing with even Trent, right?
Oh, don't mention that. You'll upset some people, mate. Yeah,
Well,
Dean Howson next to Trent next year. You heard it here first, says Neil Grover. Is there a danger that his team's going to get ripped up this summer, Neil?
yes, yeah, I think that there is. Unfortunately, I don't think. I think we will see sales. There's no two ways about that. I think Howson is barring something incredible, and I think that would need us to make Europe. And then even then, it's unlikely. So Howson is gone. I think Kirkes or Semenyo goes as well.
Just the
'Cause
two.
yeah, I just don't. I don't see unless a player really agitates, and I don't think we're likely to see that. Just from the way that the squad has been built, there's been and we've built to show that there is a path. So I think any of those players will see that in the future there will be opportunities for them. I don't think anyone else out of those three, aside from those three, will particularly be on people's radar that I can think of. Obviously, the
Just
manager maybe, but I
just to
don't.
elaborate, when you say a path, what you mean is by saying that people will get integrated at Bournemouth, and if they do really well, the reward is there, and we won't block you,
Yeah,
basically.
the business model, as I understand it, is that every season going forward, and it's proven with the likes of Brighton, right? There will be a at least one player sale to fund what we're doing, and then that will be reinvested in two or three young bargains that are coming through. I mean, it's not even necessarily from an FFP point of view. Frankly, Howson alone at 50 million probably sees us fine for that. So, but it is just in order to have that progression and to continue to be in a attractive club for the likes of Howson and the likes of Kirkes, we need to be able to show that we won't stop you if Madrid or City or any of those teams come in, as long as they meet what we deem to be the value. We're not going. I don't think they'll stop players.
What's your thoughts on KDB leaving, Johnny?
I think it's the right move. I think the only way he could have stayed is if he significantly reduced his wages. He's not capable of playing, what's it, 40, 50 games anymore. So he's just not worth the 400 grand a week wages. And yeah, if he's not, like I say, willing to take that pay cut, then I think it's time, unfortunately.
Do you see the club spending big this summer?
Yes. Yeah, I think they've been saving it up. We haven't probably spent as big as we could have done in the last few years. We obviously started that in Jan, and I think they'll continue it in the summer.
Okay. Just on that, Kusanov,
Yeah.
he hasn't played for ages. We haven't seen him. And
No, I
it
think
looked like he was just getting to the stage where he was beginning to kind of be recognised, and we haven't seen him.
I think Nico O'Reilly is to blame for that. He's been really good recently, sort of a bit of a revelation at left back, and it's meant that Gvardiol has just been able to come in and form that sort of like right foot, left foot partnership. And I think again, it maybe in past seasons, I think me and you have talked about just Pep finding that defensive stability towards the end of the season. City's defense usually locks in a little bit in the running, and I think he quite liked that sort of consistency. So unfortunately for Kuznetsov, he just hasn't got a look in. I don't think it was through any fault of his own.
You missed O'Reilly at the weekend.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
That's interesting. So
He came back and
would you
scored.
expect him to play the cup final?
Yeah, I think he will.
So
I hope.
Vardy back to centre back for the final,
Yeah.
and then maybe about recovery for then the game Tuesday.
I think Guardiola will play both.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether I think he might even play left back on Tuesday. He'll probably bring a Kanji back in on Tuesday.
I'd take it if someone did want to buy a City defender for these last two, it is Vardy still, is it?
Yeah.
Would if O'Reilly was classified as a defender, would he be pushing that conversation? He's like 4.5 midfielder or
Yeah,
something, isn't he?
maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it's hypothetical. If he's a defender next season and we don't sign a left back, say, um, yeah, there could be conversations then.
So what city have you got at the moment, Johnny?
Hang on, I'm having to check. Just Vardiol.
Is that the way it's staying, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you kind of in no buy category?
I think it's just because of the other fixtures. You're in that sort of period now where it's just short-term punts, isn't it? Or like 1 week punts, basically. And I don't think any of the City players are good enough punts over the
Yeah,
others.
but then because of the result of the weekend, we know there's something to play for, highly likely in both of these games.
Yeah.
And you know how to do the end business bit, mate.
Yeah.
That's important here, isn't it? If you need 6 points from the two games, these players know how to go and get the job done from that perspective.
Yeah, it's just the classic sort of knowing which ones to go and get and then hoping they play and hoping they deliver. When I think there's some, especially in game week 38, there's obviously slam dunks like the Bournemouth players, the Arsenal players as well.
So I'll give you both an example here. So you're a Jean-Philippe Mateta owner, and you're really worried that he might not play against Wolves next Tuesday, following obviously the cup final Saturday.
Yeah.
You've got 8 odd million sitting in the bank, Johnny.
Mm.
Who'd you buy?
You want me to say Marmoush, don't you? For everyone who sold him.
No, why did you say Haaland?
Ah.
But my kind of point, I don't think you buy Marmoush at this point. If you're a Mateta owner and you have the money to go to Haaland, do you go to Haaland or do you go to
Oh, sorry. I
Watkins?
thought you meant. I thought you meant just 8 mil to spend, not like eight
No, no,
additional.
no. You can get all the way is what I meant. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well.
Uh,
Would you go to Haaland or do you just go for Watkins?
Looking at his fixtures now. Um, well, Watkins are playing the two idiots, aren't they? So,
Thank you, Johnny. I accept that this time. You're not wrong, by the way.
I think if you're chasing, I think it'd be a good play. Like you say, I think Haaland will play both games. Um,
The more I think about it, the more I think, and he's not going to be for me. It just doesn't work this week like it didn't work for me last week. But the more I think about it, the more I think those who own him should strongly consider captaining him.
yeah, I think it's always. I think we've had similar conversations before. If you manage to get on Haaland at such a low effective ownership, it's a really good gamble to take. When I saw the leak at the weekend, I very nearly was tempted to do the Salah switch, but obviously was glad I didn't in the end.
It was quiet. What do we make them for Marmoush owners?
Um, again, I think it's like the same as KDB. I can see him starting both. I was surprised we dropped at the weekend. He didn't particularly deserve it. He obviously needed scored when he came on. I think he will start the cup final. Um, and then I don't know against Bournemouth. It's probably a keep.
It's probably a keep because as kind of discussed with you, Neil, there aren't that many great forward options this week that kind of inspire to go to. If it was 1 week later, we'd be talking about Evan Nilsson, wouldn't we? What do you think about that as Mateta to Evan Nilsson now? If someone
I,
suggested it to you, Neil, i.e., can't get to Watkins, for example.
I don't hate it. I mean, the way that we set up, as he showed at Arsenal, like he's gonna pop up.
And
And
boom, don't care.
but then it would be in a penalty, right? So
Neil, don't go there, mate.
just digging around. Yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable shout. As I said, I intend to own him against Leicester, and there's no reason why. As we said, look, I think we've got every chance of getting something on Tuesday, so why not him? So yeah, I don't hate it. I did just want to say, literally, while we've been recording, our pal Fab has confirmed that Rail have had a bid accepted for Howson.
Wow. Okay. Have they put a figure out?
50 million.
Yeah, that's the number I was hearing reported earlier today.
Yeah, so it's just down to him, but it's done deal now.
It's a good deal for the club. He's going to end up being worth more. I think he's done so incredibly well. You
Mhm.
know, you're not silly. Real Madrid come calling for your player,
Oh
mates.
yeah, The frustration for me is that, and it's not a frustration because we wouldn't have got the player had we not put the release clause in. But if he was in the open market, I mean, you're probably getting what 30 million more for him, like just where he sits at the
I think
moment.
because of his age, I don't even think that's outrageous now.
So it's frustrating, but we wouldn't have got him, and we've made 40 million profit on a player that's played 30 games for us. Like,
Yeah, and you'll unearth more people like Zabanis and Howsons that have,
yeah,
yeah, got you
and he was
to
bought.
this
He was
place.
bought in as our third choice. Like we can't forget that he was going to be the backup centre back this year.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, that's you thrown me that with that conversation now. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Do you know your captain game at 38 now?
Now, being realistic
Evan
about it,
Nilsson.
yeah, there is that. Um, Again, it just depends how it all sits up because if we've got something to play for, then I think someone like that is a realistic opportunity. There is also an element of me that if Vardy doesn't score at the weekend, he's going to be sat on that 199 goals, right? And there's just an element of me that's like, oh well, I know what's blooming coming against us then.
What's he going to do?
Um,
Dance around the corner flag, start eating cherries? What's he going to do?
but I'm sure you're the same. Like when there's a player like that that's on a record just before you, it's like, oh, can he get it out of the way before us, please? But yeah, I mean, I do think that he would be him or one of the Arsenal players at Southampton, perhaps.
Well, that's probably what I'm looking at, Neil, is if I roll through this week, probably buying one Arsenal attacker and one Bournemouth attacker for final day. That's probably what I'm looking at.
Hmm.
And the way that works for me at the moment, bearing in mind there's no Arsenal forward to pick, if I want to buy a forward, it's clearly going to be Evan Nilsson, isn't it?
Yeah.
It only really becomes Cliver or Semenyo if I want to make a midfielder change.
Hmm.
Would Evan Nilsson definitely be, in your opinion, for that final game, the right punt? Or would you recommend it like Semenyo, Cliver, or an alternative?
I think just because of the striker options and where people sit, I really, yeah, I think Evan Nilsson would be the choice. And then yeah, as I said, if you want if you do need a midfielder, it's one of those two, and it's choose your poison.
Okay. If you're a Kepa owner,
Hmm.
would there be any concern about him not playing that last game?
No,
Again, if there's nothing to play for, give Travers a run out.
it wouldn't be Travers because Travers has been on loan.
Oh, is he?
It he's been at Middlesbrough.
Thanks, mate. Shows how much championship football I watch. You would have thought I'd got used to keeping an eye on that league, wouldn't
Yeah. So it'd be Will Dennis, who's an uncapped, like,
you?
so
So that's
no,
probably unlikely.
unlikely.
Okay, fine. Um, Johnny, this top five race obviously should be done. You can salvage this season quite well, I think, with the trophy, as you said, and top five if you manage it. Have you given yourself time to think about the summer yet? And I don't just mean about transfers. I mean about the tournament.
Not really. Not at all. It's such a weird concept, isn't it? But we're going to have to be competitive over summer. All the City fans are talking, oh, we can't wait for the season to end. And then we keep forgetting, oh, but it's not going to end. We have to watch us. We have to watch us again.
Do you think you'll buy into it? I think that once you hit the knockout stage, you'll be like, oh, I care about it a bit. But
Yeah,
does it
because
feel like a pain in the arse almost?
I'd almost just want to reset, like send the
Yeah,
players away, try and box some transfers. Because it's the usual thing with like international tournaments, like nothing ever happens in a transfer window. I don't know if it'll be a similar sort of vibe there. I'd rather just sort of like try and get some players in. I mean, there is some rumors that we're going to try and get some players in. I don't know what the situation is going to be like with contracts. Like, I don't know whether De Bruyne is going to play in it, whether he's going to go before. There's talks about, obviously, we're being linked with Gibbs White, that we might want him in for the tournament. I don't know how it's all going to work because I think there's something weird. Like, there's a week of the transfer window open, and
yeah,
then it shuts during the competition
yeah.
and then it reopens again.
I can explain that. So they've opened a window from like 1st to 10th of June.
Yeah.
So transfers can be made and then registered for teams in the Club World Cup. Then it shuts again for 7 days and then reopens again. The reason for that is it's contractually written somewhere about the length of how long the window is open. It's got to be like 8 weeks or something.
Okay.
That's why it opens for the Club World Cup and then shuts again. Because most people are like, that's weird. It's something to do with the length of time of the summer window. I think is restricted to a factual like 8 week period.
Yeah.
That's why it is. And obviously, if they didn't open it earlier, you got players going, I'd like to play in that tournament. Some do, and they wouldn't be able to ultimately.
Yeah.
So
We're looking at the fixtures now. Like we've got a fixture at 5 o'clock. We play Juventus at 8 o'clock one Thursday. We've got a fixture at 2 o'clock in the morning, which probably won't stay up for. But so I'll watch them, and then you're right. If we get through, then obviously it gets interesting. But thanks to the way the season's gone, I can't imagine we're going to win it
why?
because the other
There's
teams,
probably only 5 or 6 teams that can, Johnny. You'd be
yeah.
one of them.
But just for the other teams there in it, you just fancy, I think, over us this season. I'm losing track of who's even in it. Is Madrid in it?
Madrid are in it, Atletico Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, some others I've forgotten.
I think
Inter, I think Inter are in it. Inter and Juventus. Juventus are in your group, aren't they?
yeah, they've all been better than us this season, but maybe Chelsea.
I had a question on my stream on Wednesday was, and I'll paraphrase it, was basically, do you think City will be back to their full best and piss the league next year?
I don't think so. Like the full best is, I think we're sort of the level dropped significantly this year for a number of reasons, didn't it? I think for us to get back to our full best, everything has to come back together. Now it could, like Rodri could come back. Um, we make some really good signings, but you forget that like the players that we've sort of like lost from that season, like say KDB leaving, Foden has to regain his form. The attacking players that we've got like Doku, Savinho, Oscar Bob coming back from injury, they need to start contributing numbers. There just needs to be a lot that comes together for us to get back to that sort of like elite best. I'm confident that we will be better. I'm confident that we will be back in a title race. Um, but I don't think we'll be pissing the league.
No, I agree with you. Just a quick word on Foden. I mean, it's remarkable to do this sort of podcast and not even mention him till this point. This is beyond the joke about the Curry house now, right?
Yeah, yeah, we talked about that earlier in the year, didn't we? Um, I think most City fans are just sort of written him off this season now. There's clearly something that's gone on. I saw something the other day that's a report like a family member had a fire at their house or something, and he just seems to be having the season from sort of like hell off the pitch. Um, so whatever's going on with him, I hope he obviously just gets sorted and then over the summer comes back because it is a real shame to see. Obviously, I think people are very quick to forget how good he was last year. PFA Player of the Year for a reason. He effectively carried us to that league title.
Hmm. His drop off has coincided a bit. So look, I hope no one wants to see the Phil Foden they've seen this year, mate.
No.
We want to see him back to his best, absolutely, and hopefully he does. Okay, let's finish with a couple of predictions and stuff. Johnny, go on. FA Cup final. Think you do it?
Oh, like I say, I think it is a real coin flip. But the optimist in me is going to say yes. Do you want to score?
Shoot.
I'll say 2-1 City.
Go on then, Neil. Give us your unbiased, neutral opinion, even though you desperately want City to win.
Yeah, I think City just the experience that you've got in that squad of winning trophies as much as it's going to be a huge day for Palace, and I do wish them well. Apart from the fact that I want them to lose because I want us to have a sniff at Europe. I'm going to say 2-0. I don't think Palace get blown away at all.
Neil is absolutely awful. Desperately wanting a football team to win that you neither like or hate or anything, and then they let you down. Fairly awful, particularly when it's a team normally as good as Johnny's team as well. I think you'll do it, Johnny, but I think it might be hard work. I
Yeah, it
really
will
do.
be. And I think there are worse teams to lose in the cup final too than Palace. I think if we did, I think we are the villains on Saturday, aren't we?
Of course you are. Of course you
Everyone wants, but apart from Bournemouth,
are. I'm Brighton fans
Yeah.
and Brighton. Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe we've got a
and
few more on our
and
side than
Brentford.
I thought.
There's a few on your side. Probably
Um,
Millwall as well. Maybe
But yeah,
Charlton.
I
There's a
think
few
like
more. Yeah, yeah.
it would be like if it was Villa, I wouldn't have liked losing to Villa. And don't tell Lee that. But
I think Lee listens to everything that is said on these podcasts, so he'll know.
all right, well, yeah, I hope
And I'll
Lee.
tell him tomorrow because he's on the podcast tomorrow.
There you go. But yeah, obviously, if Palace managed to win the first ever major trophy, it'd be some achievement, and obviously would be quite nice to see. But yeah, I obviously do really want to see City win it.
Okay. And a prediction for the Bournemouth game, Johnny?
I think it's going to be a really difficult game, but I think City will lock in. We usually do when something's at stake in the running. I think it'll probably be again a low scoring affair, but I'll go 2-0 this time.
And for yourself, Neil?
Uh, I'll go with 2-1 to us. I
Look
can see
ahead.
it being yeah, I can see it being quite similar to perhaps the Arsenal game was, that we get dominated in large spells and then you know do some magic.
Okay. One more question for you both before we finish. Johnny, who's been your player of the year?
Oh, I was thinking about this morning because they were talking about this on a podcast. I generally don't know. I think it probably just defaults to Vardiol of like availability, which is a terrible reason and is a damning
He's played
indictment.
the most games.
Yeah, which is a damning indictment of our season and a poor reflection on many of the players.
No, I asked that because I saw someone the other day saying that Vardy was City's player of the year, and I had to stop and think. And I think the alternatives would be tough. Like I couldn't pick a Tottenham one this year either.
Mhm.
And for yourself, Neil?
It's difficult for me, but perhaps for the opposite reason to you guys, that there's been some really good players. Um, I think it would be Cliver, just based on the breakout that he has had, and the importance that he has had for us.
Were you going to say Dean Howson if I asked that question half hour ago or not?
Mhm.
No, I think he's been impressive, obviously for his age, but I wouldn't have said he's been our best player.
Fairs. Gents, thank you both so much. Johnny, anything you want to plug before we finish?
FPL Pringle for the FPL content. I've had a bad season, so don't listen to anything I say. And MCFC Pringle if you want MCFC Pringle if you want City ramblings.
What an endorsement. Follow me, but don't listen to me. And Neil, for you?
Mine is at AFCBNG, normally moaning about penalties, one way or the other.
Oh, our patrons love you, mate. Thanks both very much, gents. Good luck for the rest of the season. As alluded to earlier, Lee Jackson, our Aston Villa correspondent, is joining me to talk Villa, their hunt for a top five place, bit of reflection on their Champions League season, and Lee's brilliant FPL season. And if he all thinks we really should captain Ollie Watkins, he'll give the Villa view and I'll give the Tottenham view on that podcast tomorrow. Clash to Correspondents next week. He's on Tuesday. Gary Robinson, Ricky Saunders. Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur, 16th versus 17th. That's how I'm going to plug it for now. To Johnny and to Neil, thank you both very much, gents. Good luck. Cue music, please. Man child.